All right. As someone says, this is more that you're using too many of the same things, David. Find ones from movies and stuff. Actually, by the way, audience, previously I had not watched the show Better Call Saul. I'm now partway through season 2 of Better Call Saul. So if you want to know my opinion about whether or not the things in that show make any sense at all, I can talk about that.
Yeah.
So
well, fair enough. But also,
spoiler alert, some of them do make sense. A lot of them don't make sense.
Yeah. Well,
but it's exaggerated. I think people know it's an exaggerated show. Anything like that's exaggerated. Some of the things I find kind of silly in it, though, is like, David, you might remember in season 1, there's a scene where he roots through the trash because he's looking for some documents.
Yeah.
And this is a spoiler alert for those who have not seen this. But what they end up finding is a document that shows that they had imported products across state lines.
Yeah. And
it's supposed to be like a huge smoking gun.
Yeah.
But then the next episode, the opposing party just informs them that the defendant has facilities in more than one state.
Yeah, but it's harder to make that dramatic, I guess. But
that's my point. It's exaggerated and dramatized, but the document they find ends up being totally superfluous. There was no reason to spoliate that.
Yeah, well, the reason that document ended up in the fact that they have facilities elsewhere ends up being important is because they want to use it to make it a RICO case, which we referred to before.
Racketeering.
Yeah, it's interstate racketeering issues. As I mentioned at the time.
We talked about federal law. I mean, if you listen to any of our episodes, you already know that for federal government to regulate something, they basically have to use the commerce power.
Yeah.
So you have to show that something was substantially affected by interstate commerce. So if they want to get higher damages on this under federal law, they've got to show interstate commerce. They didn't need that piece of paper to do that.
Yeah.
Because the entity operated in more than one state. Looking them up they're probably incorporated in Delaware.
Well, yeah.
You didn't need to go through the trash to find
out. What I was going to say is, Better Call Saul is set in, the recent past, but it is the past. I think it's supposed to be around like 2005 or something. But, the odds that this company didn't have some kind of web presence that would mention where their facilities are is pretty implausible.
Web presence is debatable for whether or not that constitutes interstate commerce.
That would mention their other facilities, is my point.
Oh,
Not talking about the server location or anything like that. That's a different issue. But...
yeah, you usually brag about that on a website,
yeah.
So why would you spoil?
Anyway,
that was very silly. There were a few other things in it. I'm forgetting them now, but there were a few other things like that where it's just like,
yeah,
you had a major plot line devoted to this, and it was totally superfluous. Oh, I remember it now. So in season 2, this is a spoiler for season 2 for those of you who have seen it. They claim so he goes on like a bus thing that has a bunch of senior citizens on it.
Yeah,
and one of them has responded to their class action lawsuit. The like form that they send to notify you of the class action lawsuit, the mailer. And he wants to get additional class action clients, additional class clients. So he goes and he talks to the person who did respond. And while he's talking to the person who responded, the rest of the people on the bus overhear. And Saul tells they still call him Jimmy at that point, tells kind of an embellished, dramatic story about what's going on, very sympathetic, so he can get more clients out of these people. More of them will fill out the form, and more of them will sign on as plaintiffs. And then the blonde character, I forget her name.
Actually, I have too. 'Cause it's been a while since I've watched that show because I don't usually actually keep up with it as it's airing. I usually go back and watch later. Kim? Is her name Kim? I don't really.
It might be Kim. I don't remember. But anyway, she gets mad at him, and she's like, "Well, there only one person responded to our mailer, and you went out. You must have solicited legal work. That's solicitation. That's an ethical violation. You could get disbarred for it." She's right. Solicitation can get you disbarred. Lawyers are not permitted to do direct in-person solicitation for paying legal work. Jimmy didn't do that.
Yeah.
Jimmy was talking to somebody that had already responded to the mailer, and other people inquired. And he answered their question and then handed out additional forms to them. There was no ethical violation there. And there's like a whole plot line that goes along with this where they're like, oh, Jimmy's being so bad and how he's acquiring clients. It's total ethical violation. There was no ethical violation there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, before this turns into Better Call Saul review hour, let me just say, that's fine. We can look into some more fictional ones. Part of the point of this thing was stuff that you haven't seen before, so we're probably not going to use any of those specific things.
I know some of our listeners like that show, and they've been asking me if the show is accurate.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of a... For the most part, it's kind of accurate.
Yeah.
But it's clear they have lawyers consulting with them on the script of each episode.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, like, does this check the box? Does this check the box? Does this check the box? I don't think they have anybody consulting on the overarching plot. And I guess the important thing they get really, really right is a lot of the cultural stuff for attorneys.
Yeah.
Like, how some of the older attorneys have a total disdain for marketing. They hate it when he makes commercials and whatnot. They're so worried about the image of their law firm. That stuff's pretty accurate. And it really does work that way. But some of the legal stuff is really, I'm not sure why you expected us to buy that.
And, to be fair, I'm not sure that any major Hollywood production has ever been super on point when it comes to legal issues. I'm not sure how many people...
My Cousin Vinny is okay.
What's that?
My Cousin Vinny is okay.
That's a good movie, too. I like that one.
Yeah. That one's pretty good.
Yeah.
There's one, like people going over and leaning on the jury box when they're talking to the jury.
Yeah.
No judge would allow that, but that's a minor problem.
Right.
For the most part, that movie's pretty good.
All right. So anyway, I guess, again, not legal advice, but we both seem to endorse My Cousin Vinny if you just want to watch a movie that's about a courtroom thing.